self-proclaimed.
Yeah. You're already streaming on Facebook. So watch what you say. All right, we'll call the August Town of Bowling Springs Council meeting to order. First item of business is adoption of the agenda. If council has had a chance to take a look at the agenda, if there are any changes or amendments.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Councilman Thomas with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Gant. All those in favor, cast your votes. And opposed? Still can't use that. All right, the agenda is adopted for this evening. Are there any, get some hot mics tonight. Any citizens?
You ought to get it down.
Any citizens present that would like to speak, make comment on something that's not on the agenda? All right, hearing none. Mr. Evans, if you'll come up with an update from Gardner Webb.
Good morning. Holy cow, good evening.
Yeah.
Sorry, threw me off skipping a month there. So summer's almost over, as many of you are probably aware. Students are starting to move back, so athletes are moving in now. We have our major move-in will happen next weekend, so if you feel like picking up mini fridges and moving them up 3 flights of stairs, come on over and help us out. Football tickets are on sale. It's that time. Cooler weather is around the corner. First home game is September 9th, so come out and cheer on the Running Bulldogs in that avenue. In the vein of football, mark your calendars also for October 28th. Will be homecoming. We have a couple new traditions this year we're trying out. One will be Bo's Battle Queue. It's a smoking meat competition. You'll get a couple pork butts. You'll get actually judged, and then there will be a People's Choice Award. So a new tradition we're trying to bring to the area. And in that same vein, a new tradition, you may have heard we have an amphitheater that's being built. We plan to have the inaugural concert on that evening of October 28th. A guy by the name of Ricky Skaggs is going to come and play, and so that will be the kickoff. It's sure to be a good time. Tickets are on sale for that on our website as well, so please come out and join us there. And then the last update I have is we invite you to join us this Thursday at the chapel. We have our community prayer gathering at 9:30. Other than that, it's business as usual. Thank you, guys.
Sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Fitch with the Y update.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me back. I just brought you the updates that I promised in the June meeting. At that time, I had said that I was going to get a list from the town manager, which I did. But whenever I was going through the town resident list, I realized, I thought, say if Barbara Fitch was paying the water bill or whatever, and maybe my daughter that lived with me was actual member, then that wasn't going to give us a true total. So Mr. Saldo sent me a map of the town, and I wrote down all of the roads and everything. So I went through our list of members by their addresses, so I was able to get a better picture. So right now, we've got 289 units, which is the memberships, and that gives us 884 members of town residents. And then the town's resident scholarships, right now, we have 12 families that we're helping with their membership payments. And then we've got 24 children enrolled, that's been enrolled in after-school and summer camp. Some of them are the same children that just rolled over from one program to another. But that's the town resident scholarships. So I was just gonna give you a little update. I'm very proud. We had 317 children sign up for swim lessons this year. So that's a lot of kids that we've helped, and that doesn't include the ones that we helped with second grade swim. So, and I did want to remind you that September 4th, Labor Day, will be our town residents' free day at the pool. So, and we'll need to remember to put it in the newsletter. And I was going to let you know, we have a new family director and media specialist for the library. It's Amber Ray, and I've got her information there. I updated it from Jasmine, in case you had any information or questions for her, rather. And then Jordan, he's been working real hard, too. The second sheet you've got, this lets you know, in fall of 2022, we had 142 town participants in our baseball and soccer, and that was 55% of our total. In the winter sports, that was basketball. We had 140 participants. That was town residents, which was 67% of our total. Spring sports, 157. That would have been spring baseball, Little League, and soccer and volleyball. We had 157, which was 59% of our, that 59% was town residents. Then in the summer, we had 40 town resident participants, which was 35% of our total. So, and Jordan did not have time to do scholarships for sports, but he's gonna, we're gonna work real hard now that we know what you need, that every time we have a sport, we'll have all the information you need. But I hope this helps, and I thank you again for sending me that list, and that was the best way I knew, but Alan and I have been talking, we're trying to get somebody that can take the map of the town and then our addresses and pinpoint where our members are. So maybe that'll help as far as the 1 mile radius around. So we're gonna work real hard on that, because it'd make my life a whole lot easier. Any questions for me? All right,
This is good progress. I appreciate that, Barbara.
all right, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
All right, next up is the adoption of the consent agenda. Contains 3 items. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented?
I move the consent agenda be adopted.
All right, Councilman Green with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Thomas. You may record your votes electronically.
Let me do it. Let me try to refresh.
All right, thank you. All right, the consent agenda is adopted unanimously. We will now move to open a public hearing on the system development fee study. That public hearing is opened at 6:38. And we'll turn it over to Town Manager Longino for some comments.
Thank you, sir. So this was originally presented back in June. We contracted with an engineering firm called Gavel and Dorn to conduct a system development fee study. And the gist of it, to kind of summarize what he presented back then, was that they evaluate our existing system, all of the lines, all of the pump stations, all of the different sort of assets that we have with water and sewer, and they come up with a fee that is basically a buy-in fee. So over time, as that system has been established and then maintained, the residents that are currently connected to it are paying into that system and paying for the upkeep of that system. So the system development fee would be for any new service units, as they're called, tapping onto the system. They'd have to pay this fee to sort of buy into the system as their sort of fair share of those fees that the current residents have paid, over time, and as the town has invested in those. So they presented the full study, which is included in your packets. On the summary sheet, you've got a list of the fees. There's a fee for water and for sewer. You don't have to adopt those fees as they are. You could adopt half of those fees. You could adopt 25% of those fees. You just can't adopt anything that's higher than those fees. So staff's recommendation would be to adopt the fees as presented. Our thoughts are we're going to see some growth and development in the coming years, and we want to be able to keep our system up to a certain level of maintenance and keep it maintained. And this is a way to make sure that new stresses on the system as we get new connections don't overburden it.
Okay, any comments from anyone in the public? Public comments on this issue? If not, we'll close the public hearing at 6:40. And I will open it up to council's questions and comments.
When we review the rates and the service size, the 3/4 inch, is that a standard size for a home?
Yes, sir.
For water,
For water?
yeah.
Yes.
4-inch sewer for personal lateral. And then depending on the neighborhood size, will determine the main size. I guess my question is, this is strictly for new developments. This is not related to the program that we're trying to put into place for the established neighborhoods, trying to get off the septic sewers, or
Yes,
the
sir.
tanks, right? Okay.
Well, I understand the study and where they got the numbers from. I mean, it was well done, in my opinion. I think those rates are pretty steep, though. I think it could curtail development more than anything.
Can you help me understand why you think those are steep, Patrick?
Well, if you look at the 3/4 inch water, and then, of course, your sewer, you reference that at 4 inch. I mean, half of that's 2245, so what's that? $4,500. So you're gonna go build a house, and you've got to pay $4,500 to tap into water and sewer. I mean, as opposed to probably spending 8 to 10 on a septic system. I mean, it is cheaper, but, I don't know, it just seems awful steep to me.
And any new service unit in the city limits is going to be required to connect to water and sewer if it's available nearby. So there's a few instances where it might be too far away and they could put in a septic tank, but for the most part, they're going to have to be connected to our system.
And what is our current fee schedule? Do we have something?
We don't have a fee for this. There is like a meter install fee
Okay.
and a tap fee, and that is, I think it's about $13.50 for a residential unit, and that just basically covers the cost of the meter and the tap.
Thank you.
So that remains,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
this is in addition to whatever's out there now, right?
So we would be adding $13.50 to any numbers.
Yes, sir. It gets a little tiered when we get up into bigger meter sizes, but for the most part, if we're thinking new residential development, that's That's the going rate.
So it looks like for just a 3/4 inch line, it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,800 to add on. Which generally is put in the labor cost of the construction and passed on. But it does make the cost for the property go up.
Yeah, I think there's kind of two sides of it. If you're an individual that's purchased a lot and you're building a house, then that's a considerable chunk of money. If you're a big developer that's coming in and developing 20 acres, you're not gonna probably bat an eye at it. I do have a list of some other cities and towns that are in our region that have adopted system development fees like that. Not everybody has one, but there's a list there. And I've dealt with developers before, and they bring in a check and pay for it, and don't think twice about it. But there's two sides to every coin.
Sure, and the other side of that is, if we're not careful, then we get a lot of development, then the system's overburdened, and then we've got to bring it up to standard, and we don't have any money. And that's the other side.
Yeah.
And they're getting something that the other people have already paid for. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, I see both sides of it. It's not, but it is considerable.
Well, the only other way to build into CIP is to increase rates for the usage of that. And generally, water sewer fund tries to remain revenue neutral, but it costs a lot of money to buy into those systems and to maintain those systems.
And it could be an incremental implementation. You know, you all could implement a certain percentage of these fees, and then if you decided 2 years from now to raise those fees, you can do that. So it's just needs to be, based on the metrics that they completed the study on.
I may have overlooked it, Justin, but is there a paragraph or two in there about surrounding areas and how these recommendations fit into that, average or median of what our surrounding area is doing?
Oh, in terms of the fee?
Yeah.
I don't have that in there, but the study's normally determined on the assets of the system, so it could
It would
vary just
fluctuate.
depending on, how big the city is or
Yeah.
what sort of, assets they had.
I can appreciate both sides of the coin there between Tommy and Patrick. On one side, you don't want to underprice it and put ourselves in a bind and have to every year or two bump it up a percentage or a couple percent. Same time, we could also leverage it as a marketing approach for developers and say, hey, that's, 10% cheaper than the next town down, and we want to develop, and so.
It's true.
And then if we don't have a fee, then they develop it, and then the system's overloaded, then that's on us, right? I think having a fee makes sense. Now, what that fee is the,
I'm not against having a fee, I just think the full fee's a little steep, but because if you look at where we're at 20, 30 years ago, that's basically what happened. Development overran the system.
that's right,
We were behind the 8 ball for a number of years till we finally caught up.
that's right. And I'd hate to see us get in that situation.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Patrick, did you have an idea of a percentage that you'd feel comfortable with?
Well, I would be comfortable starting at half the rate. See how it goes. You can always go up. Of course, you can always go down, but
You're talking
It
about
gives
half
you a
the quoted
starting
rate
point.
there, is that what it's-
half the quoted rates or listed rates, yes.
I don't have any problem with that either. I think we do need to have a way of paying into the system, and, but also do not want to curtail new development. And I don't know that it would, but
Yeah, because that was our whole point, is to try to get building going on and.
Would it,
Is that our whole point? We keep talking about controlled growth, but here we're trying to attract development. So we gotta be careful there too. That's a delicate line there too.
oh, yeah.
and this is just a question for thought, I don't really have an argument to make, but would it, is there an argument to make to adopt the full fee schedule here, and it would be easier to reduce the fee schedule if we see that it stifles development? Would that be easier to do than increase the rates after a certain developer has come in at half the rate, and then we raise it up for the next developer. Does that make sense?
Sure, it does to me. And I don't know.
I mean, I don't know the answer to that, that's just a question I have in mind. These things I don't understand as much.
Another risk I'd be concerned about is if we do have developers showing interest in the next couple of years for commercial and private residents, and we start out half, and we find out we're behind the 8 ball, are we paying for a study again to come back? And the study costs more than the savings that we gained.
Yeah, we don't do
Or
that.
we're buying the 8 ball and we've got to upgrade the system at our cost. We gotta pay for it. Cause we don't have the fund, I mean.
How much was this study?
20,000.
Okay.
Well, we don't wanna do that
I mean,
study again.
No,
It would,
Repeat
I
it.
it's on the lower end of the scale, but
presume it would be a lesser rate, since we'd be updating the study versus establishing the study, but.
Okay.
And I take that back. I think that's what we budgeted for it, but I think Gavilan Dorn came in lower than that. I'm not sure what that exact number was, but.
It's very thorough study.
Yeah.
Further discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion, one way or the other.
I'll motion to adopt the system at development fee as presented.
A second.
All right, Councilman Edwards with the motion, Councilman Green with the second. Further discussion? All right, hearing none, you may cast your vote.
Mine ain't working. It's not even up there on my 2 bar anymore. Unless I closed it out last time.
Oh, yeah, it looks like it got closed down.
Yep.
Let me see if I
Oh,
can
you're-
reopen it here.
You're green up there.
I didn't do anything.
Oh.
Oh,
Do I? Yeah, but I didn't do that.
His tab's closed out. Did
I didn't vote.
you want to vote yes?
Yeah, I wanted to vote yeah, but I didn't. Oh, you did it for me?
We recorded that one, yeah, but he
Okay,
still has
that's
to
fine.
go back up.
We can go back to old school. I like that better anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what you're saying, though. I thought-
So that motion carries 3-2, I believe.
I believe that's correct.
All right. Give just a second for our technical difficulties here.
What are you doing?
Take it off. You're good.
All right, we'll be moving on to the Rural Transformation Grant Agreement. This is the NC Commerce Department grant that we received to create the downtown courtyard project. We did have a good meeting, good public meeting a couple of days ago, a week ago or so. Justin?
Thank you, sir. That about covers it. So I think it was 2 months ago, we presented the concept for this to apply for the grant, and then we were successful with that application. So we were awarded $195,000 through the North Carolina Commerce Rural Transformation Grant Program. This vote tonight would be to officially accept those funds and move forward. You know, when we presented the concept, it was kind of, we're not guaranteed the funds. But once we secured those, we had the meeting that Mayor Thomas mentioned and got some feedback from some downtown stakeholders that are listed in your report there. Had a few things to kind of tweak, but have talked with McGill, and they would be, you know, they're comfortable doing some of the design work and moving forward with that. So if council wants to accept those funds, we need a motion to approve the agreement with NC Commerce, and then we also have a budget amendment in there to just allocate those funds coming in. It's a reimbursable grant, so funds coming in and then us getting reimbursed for those. So 2 items for your consideration there.
Do we need to consider those separately?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Comments or questions from council? We'll say, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, Mayor was at the meeting, it's a very good meeting, I thought, that we had, and I'm excited about this project, and I think it's gonna be something that the sooner we get it going, the more excited I'm gonna be, and I think the citizens are gonna be. Everybody there was spoke very highly of the project, and we're excited about it, I thought, so I move that we accept the money and spend it as quickly as we can
All right,
on the project.
motion to approve the agreement for the grant has been made by Councilman Green. Is there a second? Second from Councilman Thomas. Further comments or discussion?
It states in there that we may move the EV chargers or one.
Yes, sir, we're gonna have to look at that. The current rendering takes one of the spaces right behind the Greenway office, which is kind of tied to one of the EV chargers, so, haven't figured out, I mean, we'll have to get a full survey of that area and figure out kind of what's gonna fit.
Yeah.
But that may be something that we'll have to look at moving.
Well, if we're gonna promote more parking in front of Town Hall, it might make sense to move one down there if we have the utilities to
Yeah.
make it happen, be more visible.
I personally think if we're gonna move one, we need to move them both. I think they need to be together. To me, it just makes sense that they're both together, but that can be decided.
Yeah, we'll come up with some different ideas for that and revisit the concept. Would like to move forward with, McGill doing the survey work and then doing an actual, construction document design, and we can all review that.
Any other comments or discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second. You can cast your vote.
No, you can't.
You're out. All right.
It's there, but it doesn't do nothing.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? That carries unanimously. We also need a motion to approve the budget amendment to allocate the reimbursable funds. Is there a motion to approve that budget amendment?
So moved.
All right, motion from Councilman Edwards. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Gant. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed likewise? That also carries unanimously. So that takes us to the, Go ahead,
Make a comment.
please.
I think it'd be great if we could get McGill or somebody to do us a sign or a drawing, a rendering that we could actually place there, maybe beside the Greenway office of the rendering of the project. I think that would,
That's a great idea.
that's a great
I
idea.
think that'd be a great idea, promote some.
Just like they do at banks, right?
Mhm, yeah.
Coming soon.
Hey.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's great, yeah. All right, next item is the Hensley Park Memorial sign. Mr. Terry created the design for us. And I was able, after Mr. Longino shared it with me, I was able to share it with Jill and ask her to speak with her family about it. Her comments on it were, "Our family is humbled by this beautiful, beautiful memorial for my daddy. Thanks for taking the time. He truly did love our town." And so I just wanted to relay those sentiments from the Hensley family. What we need tonight is a motion to approve the rendering and have staff move forward with quotes to make the memorial a reality. Questions or comments? I'm sorry if there's anything else. Okay. Questions or comments from council? I hope everybody noticed. I didn't at first. That's the only reason why I pointed out, but the hanging basket that's on the side that is a real tribute to Jerry. And
Yeah, I thought so too. I noticed that. Do we have an exact location of it?
So there
That's
used,
to be decided later.
well, there used to be like a small storage shed, a little brick building on the corner there as you come into the park. And this would be somewhere in that area. We've taken the building down and there's a pad there, but we may get rid of the pad or put this near the pad or something like that. But somewhere right in that area, in that corner, kind of as you come in.
On the corner towards this way. Not,
on the oil change side. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, so if you,
All that way.
if you go down Branch and as you turn into the park right there, it'd be on your right, on that corner.
Yeah.
Kind of over from the food box and the little library.
okay.
Any other questions, comments?
I appreciate Mr. Terry coming up with the design. I think it's a really good concept, and
Good.
I make a motion that we approve the rendering and move forward with the project.
All right, Councilman Thomas with the motion,
I second.
second from Councilman Green. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? That carries unanimously. Next up is the RFP for the Old Town Hall. Justin, I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you, sir. So one of the goals in our strategic plan for this year was the reimagining of Old Town Hall. Part of this goal was to release a request for proposals before the end of the year. We really wanted something that could go broad, as we, are open to ideas for that area, but sort of provided us some guidance for moving forward. So what we've got in the packets for your consideration is an RFP that would go out to engineering firms, design firms, all kinds of different folks that we could find that may have developers that may have an interest in doing something with that space, or helping us either reimagine it or imagine what could be there. So wanted to provide this for your review, and if there are any changes or if there's anything missing, we can still tweak that. But wanted to have this kind of ready to go so that we can send it out and start getting some ideas back.
How do you feel about the interest? You think there is firms that will be just chomping at the bit to take this project?
I think there'd be some firms that are chomping at the bit to do some public input meetings and kind of, imagine what the space could be there. I'm not sure of the interest of the step after that, which is actually, coming in and doing, the renovations or tearing it down or what it might be.
Well, I know we've been talking about it. I know before I was on the council, so I think it's time we had some action there, so.
And one thing I did want to mention that we found out recently, we were selling an old copier on GovDeals, and GovDeals has a section for property. So we do have the option of listing it on GovDeals, and we don't have to, necessarily take the offers that come in. We can put it on there so that it's kind of under consideration, or our reserve is high or whatever. But that was an interesting option I'd never considered before. So something we could do after this if this isn't successful and we don't get any bids or anything. But just wanted to also throw it out there. If y'all want us to list it, we can put it on there.
Well, when Forest City did something similar to this with Florence Mill, and then they ended up doing that amphitheater and the other stuff that goes along with it. I mean, that plant probably closed in 2000. Then they got the idea. It took them a long time to get it done, but I mean, you got to get started somehow. It won't happen overnight, but it would be a good start.
Anybody else, comments, questions? If not, is there a motion to proceed and release the RFP?
I move we release the RFP.
All right, that motion by Councilman Green,
Second.
second from Councilman Edwards. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye. Opposed likewise? That carries unanimously. All right, moving on to the YMCA agreement. Mr. Longino, I'll turn this to you.
Thank you, sir. After our meeting in June, I believe it was, we had some discussion about tweaking the metrics that are outlined in the YMCA agreement. So the best path forward we determined with the YMCA subcommittee would be to put a temporary agreement in place that kind of holds things as they are, with the intent of tweaking those metrics and figuring out kind of what works best for both sides as far as reporting out and recording and tracking. So what you have is the same agreement that we have with the YMCA. It's reduced down to 6 months. I do have one small change in the last section. It says in your packets that it's a 1-year agreement and then lists August to February, but it should be a 6-month agreement from August 1st to February 1st. But everything else is the same, and the intent would be to get with the Y over the next few months and change that contract, and then bring another contract back to you all for approval then. And the funding in here is tied to 7 months. So it's a 6-month agreement, but it includes funding for the month of July, which would not be in this agreement. So the funding amount is different, but it's tied to the length of the agreement.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I think the Y has really worked hard to try to give us the information. And I think some of it's just being able to communicate what we want and then to give them the tools to be able to provide that to us. So I appreciate the staff giving the map. I know that always helps too, so, and I think the subcommittee, we can come, if you have an idea what kind of metrics you guys want to see, then tell us. But we need to just redo it in a few more months and get it solidified.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else?
So the agreement that's before us is basically the same agreement that we had in the past.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing changing other than the term.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that funding amount and the term are the only two things that changed.
And the funding was based off what we passed in the budget.
Yes, sir.
I guess my question is, does the subcommittee think they can come to an agreement with the Y in this time frame? I mean, it's already 2/3 of a year.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
feel
you're already 8 months.
I feel confident we can, I'm not so concerned about, I mean, yes, it would be nice to finish out the rest of this contract with revised metrics, but I think the intent is to revise the metrics for the multiple years to come too, right?
Yeah.
Set the North Star to a little more alignment for both parties that we both understand, so. Yeah, I feel confident, especially with the conversations we've had in the last 6 months with the Y on trying to get this one renewed. And then everybody kind of coming together on the same page that we'll come to some better aligned metrics. So I think Councilman Thomas and I have heard the feedback and loud and clear from the rest of the council, and we certainly welcome it more. But I think we're all on the same page on some of the top priorities that we're asking for on those metrics. So, yes.
And I think 884 members, that's like a 17% of our town population, right? If I did the math right. Math's not my strong suit, but, I mean, there is, and like I said, it's a destination, it's an economic driver, so, I mean, I'm good with the current agreement for the 6-month period, so. And I feel confident we can hammer out the rest of it pretty quickly. So having said that, I'll make a motion to approve the agreement, and then review it within that time frame with 6 months in order to hammer out the rest of the agreement.
All right, Councilman Thomas with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Gant. Further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise? That carries unanimously. Well, moving on to a few discussion items. First up, the social district. Justin, I'll let you explain that.
Thank you, sir. So just briefly, we've kind of talked about this here and there before. So Mr. Saldo started to research what it would take to put a social district in place. We've gotten some good information from surrounding communities, and wanted to just kind of bring it back to you all for input on whether we should keep moving forward with this idea and start to go through the process, or halt on things for now, or kind of what your thinking was, since we haven't really had a focused group discussion about it. But that's what we're looking for, and like I said, Mr. Saldo's done the research, so he can answer any questions you've got.
Questions or comments from council?
I have one question on the map. As it's drawn going down Main Street, do we have the ability to restrict it on only one side of the street?
We do, so you can set the map in whatever area you want it to be.
I have one other comment. And I'm not against the social district. My only concern about having a social district at this point is we only have one place to go. So, I mean, where's anybody gonna go at this point? Now, a year or two from now, yeah, there might be places to go. But I can't see the functionality of it with one bar in town.
Would this have an impact on Music on Main and other festival type things that we have? I mean, would that be a somewhat
Good
of an
point.
answer to your question?
Good point.
Oh, go ahead.
It would allow you to take your beverage in that district, so whether that's for Music on Main event or any other time frame, so it would definitely allow you to carry your beverage outside of, say, the designated zone, which is we have it now.
This is just a thought, but, you know, cause we have tried to make it easier for businesses. So maybe this is just one more carrot there for some of the local businesses to do that, because we've always heard that that was a barrier. So there's some businesses who talk about coming to town, and I think we've listened to the citizens and we've moved forward with that. So would this just be another plus for a business to consider it? Because it wouldn't be just limited to somebody coming inside their business and sitting and drinking. But I'm not campaigning for it or against it. I know other municipalities do have it. So,
Yeah, my thought to Mr. Litton's point is you could buy a beer at the Vintage Dog, and you could drink that beer as you walk to get a slice of pizza at Campus Pizzeria, and then you can walk back and get another beer at the Vintage Dog.
You could, I mean,
hopefully you wouldn't drink more than 16 ounces between there and pizzeria, but anyway.
I'm just curious how it might affect, I mean, university student who didn't understand his own and was 21, carried across the street. I mean, does Chief Phillips have a comment? I mean, would it put a burden on law enforcement to have to police that area greater or less? Or, I mean, I'm just curious. I mean,
The statutes do have some pretty strict signage requirements, so there would be a lot of that goes into place. But I'm sure that'd be something we'd have to have a conversation with the chief over at Gardner Webb about, because that's gonna happen, and we need to have a plan in place to address it.
Nate, would you have a comment about it?
One comment I would say is if someone's impaired, you know, consume too much, decide to walk in the district with a beer, you know, and run out from a car, I mean.
Yeah.
The chance that happen?
Well, yeah, I agree. But I can't see a stream of people headed up the street with a beer, can you? But like I say, it's not real high on my priority list.
So the fiscal impact is eventually putting up signs.
Yeah, there's some permitting requirements, and have to have labels on the cups. They have to be labeled appropriately, but that's something that the businesses would buy. And
Does the DOT have any say in this, since there's a state road there?
They don't.
They don't, okay.
but does the business have the right to be in or out of it? They do they not? Yes,
They can choose.
yeah.
Yeah, I did see something where that if they want to participate, it has to be like 12 ounce or plastic cups, and it has to be clearly labeled, and it has to have some warning signs on it and all that, so.
I know from talking to a council person in Belmont, they have a social district, and they have 3 bars or, you know, restaurants that serve alcohol and participate. So it's not a large number for them, but, you know, if that's somewhere you wanted to go look or talk to somebody, I know they have it. Small town, it's relatively similar size.
And at this point, we're just looking about refining plans, or this is something we could just put on the back burner for a different time? I mean, we're not voting yea or nay
No,
at
we've
this point.
just done some preliminary investigations, and there's a lot of different steps and kind of paperwork to start going, so we wanted to know if we should start doing that or if we should just hold off for a little while.
And this would require them to stay on that street. they couldn't come downtown Commons and go through the back? Could they?
They could go wherever you designate,
Within the-
so.
So, I mean, with the map right here, they'd have to stay on that street.
Right,
Sidewalks.
this is just an example, we could sit there and pick a different map, so whatever you designate, that would not.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Could make it a triangle through there. I'd be interested in knowing how much fiscal impact it would be to set up signs and get permits and all that. Tell the bigger picture there. Besides those inputs, seems like a reasonably small investment to provide more attraction, right? Like, and maybe expand on social events. I love the music on Main, they just are not good timing against my camping schedule, but the one I did go to was really good, so. I think this would add to it.
So do you need consensus, or you just need a motion, or? What do you-
Yeah, if there's a consensus to continue to look at it, we can kind of refine a few things and get a little bit more information and not commit too much time to it, but invest a little bit more and then revisit it in a month or two.
Yeah, maybe get some input from Gardner Webb about what their thoughts are about it, and
Well, and I appreciate the hard work so far, and I just would hope that we would just look at it a little bit further.
Yeah, and input from the current bar that we have, if we hadn't already. I mean, if they're not interested, then I don't know why we would want to move forward
Good point.
at this point, but it's good work, though.
That's true, yeah.
Next item is crest flags. I'll be brief as I can. Certainly, Boiling Springs is the home of Gardner Webb University. I graduated from Gardner Webb in 2001 and in 2007. Quite literally grew up on campus. I think I've mentioned that many times. But we are a home of Crest High School. Nods to Earl and Grover, and number 3 certainly feeds into the Crest district. But 2 out of the 3 schools that feed into the Crest system are here in town, Boiling Springs and Springmore. The other, Shelby has their own homecoming parade, Kings Mountain has their own homecoming parade, Burns has the entire north, as they like to remind us. Joking with my friend Alex Lindhart, who state championship coach at Burns High School, he asked if we had any flags in light blue. I told him he had to go up north for that. It's an idea that's been in my mind for several months. I don't really know where to start. I will say that football isn't the end of this, but football is a big, huge part of who we are. People love Friday nights at Sid Bryson Stadium around here. They just do. And if come find out August 18th when Gaffney comes to town. And so wanted to try to come up with a way to show that our town supports our high school students, our middle school students, and our elementary school students. I put out a question about maybe what would be a good way to raise money for this, because I didn't want to do it inside the budget. We haven't, this is not any part of the town budget other than manpower to put the flags up and maybe cut the poles in half that we bought. And instead of people giving me ideas for how to raise the money, the money just poured in. It was overwhelming. For 3 or 4 straight days, I was old school, writing stuff down in a notebook, and then I'm not good with spreadsheets, but I learned along the way. We had enough money to cover dozens and dozens of flags to put up on game days for the Crest Chargers. Enough money extra that I didn't think we were gonna have to buy the poles and the zip ties to attach to those as well. Many people bought them personally for their own house and all that kind of stuff too. So again, the idea is, yes, let's highlight, let's offer some support to our kids, let's rally. Certainly, like I said, it's not just Boiling Springs, but Lattimore and Mooresboro also feed into Crest High School, and so wanting to try to pull these communities together at a homecoming event is something that Tracy and I have been talking about a little bit. The day after homecoming this year, we can't pull together a homecoming parade this year, it's just too late. I don't know if that'll be a thing in the future, maybe next year. But just a Saturday afternoon, Garden Web's at East Carolina that weekend. We checked to make sure. And certainly the Crest flags will go up on Fridays and the Running Bulldog flags will go up on Saturdays. No doubt about that. And so, but homecoming, and we're working on some ideas with that as well. Some of the funds that were left over from buying the flags and the poles, we can go towards whatever. We've got food trucks already committed, people that are from Crest, trying to highlight different eras, people that went to Boiling Springs High School. You know, so many people are impacted by the Crest High School system. I was a guy that used to take my shirt off and paint letters on my chest when we won the state championship, so that's just who I am.
It's still painted.
I can't tell you. It's not game day.
One of these.
It's not game day. That would have been great, right? If I would have done that. But then further, honestly, where this began was the last unspeakable tragedy that happened in a school back in the last year. How can we begin to connect with as many kids as possible? And it may seem like Crest flags and rallying around football teams isn't connected to that, but for me it is, because we draw people together, you know, under the banner or whatever, but then we go and we see fifth grade band concerts, which may be awful, but we go and we support them. We support middle school drama, or we go to the FFA showing. I mean, our career and technical education program at Crest High School, I say this to people: you think our football team is good and we got a lot of whatever. I know Shelby's got more, but you know, I see his face over there. Our CTE department is loaded with state championship trophies. I mean, what Matt and Kay Harris and all the people that have come before them, I shouldn't have gotten to naming names, but it's really phenomenal what all of our kids are doing. And 2 of those elementary schools are here. And so how can we translate the overwhelming response to buy green and gold flags and put them up at their house and see them flying in town into more volunteers at the schools, more connection with the kids, letting them know, because my own kids I know have been, like these last few years have just been a real struggle. And so anyway, I get excited about it. It is exciting. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. We got the polls. We've spent a good amount of time there getting the polls, but we got those. They'll be zip tied. I do hope I can put some of them up. Maybe I will. No, I won't paint maybe my face, something like that. So,
If he's gonna put flags up, I gotta have him painted up, so.
but not an us and them kind of thing, you know, not an us and them kind of thing. Rivalry's fine. I mean, of course, we have people here that go to Pinnacle, that go to Thomas Jefferson, that are homeschooled, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. But the majority of our kids are in the Crest system, and this is just a way that I thought would be a good idea, and so many people in the community seem to agree. So yeah, any questions or things about that?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
You know, Crest High School actually started in the building we were talking about. I still wear my class ring from the class of 1963, which was downtown Bowling Springs, so that kind of gets lost every now and then.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm excited, and I was really excited to see the response.
Mhm.
You know, just bam, it just throwed it out there, and so I think it's great.
One thing I intend to do is request pictures from different classes and different eras, and so, you know, maybe some black and white ones from back, I mean, from back in the
Back in the day.
Hey, can I get my money back?
Yes, I actually do need to give you money back.
It was Bowling Springs High School Falcons.
No, Crest High School, class of 1963, that's proof.
Oh, listen, we were talking about 2003 in my house, and my kid said, way back when? Yeah, okay, all right.
A lot of people don't know what Crest stands for.
Cleveland Rural Education Stands Together?
It's not correct.
Good, I'm glad. I always
It's close.
I always thought
I
that was
was
false.
actually on the committee. Community and rural
Community.
education stands together. A lot of people think it's named after a toothpaste, but it's not.
Yeah, community, right, not
They
Cleveland.
were the Falcons, and the colors were blue and white, but that changed. And Township 3 was not a part, so
Right.
that changed. But it's a great deal, and I'm excited.
But thank you for all your support on that. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah, when you discussed this with me originally, I think it's a wonderful community engagement and just shows pride in our local high schools and the education system, so whatever we can do to make that happen, I'm good with it.
Wonderful idea, because the kids know that we're behind them.
I think it'd be great for all the people from Gaffney to drive through town.
Maybe they will to eat.
Yeah, stop by and, yeah. All right, final discussion item is the search for a new town manager. Mr. Longino?
Thank you, sir. Sorry to bring the mood down there.
Yeah.
But as I informed you all last week, my last day will be September 8th. So still will be here for a little while. I want to see us through the September council meeting, but wanted to start talking about how to handle the next steps. Really kind of two things to think about is how to handle the search process for a new manager and then interim manager responsibilities. So as far as the search process goes, I would recommend using our local COG, the Council of Governments, the Foothills Regional Commission. Their new executive director and I spoke this morning, and she said that they're more than able to help with that process and figure out how to get a good job description and a good candidate pool, and then a great town manager in here for everybody. You do have some other options in terms of using another consulting group, would offer similar services. And then last time, when I was hired, the council ran the process themselves. I don't think that's a bad option. I didn't know if anybody would want to or be able to commit to that sort of time commitment. So that's where my recommendation with the COG came in. Would like to see if there are 2 or 3 of you, 2 council members and the mayor, that would want to sort of head up the search committee there and work with the COG on those next steps. Can talk about that in just a minute. I'll go into the next item as well, the interim manager responsibilities. So we can handle that at the September 5th meeting, since I'll still be there for a few days after that. Talk to the COG about that as well. They're able to provide interim services. One thing that I like about bringing them in for that is, instead of contracting with one person or having extra responsibilities, put on a staff person or something like that, we're really getting the whole team at the COG. So it might be that the executive director is appointed as the interim manager, but she's got a person that's over community and economic development, and she's got a finance director, and she's got people for all the different functional areas that we could need. So that would be my recommendation, is that 2 or 3 of you all work with me and coordinate with the COG to figure out next steps, but can answer any questions about how we can move forward or other options or anything else you'd like to do.
So what did they specifically tell you at the meeting this morning about their process?
They said it would really vary on what you all wanted, so they can make it simple and work with you all to come up with a description and collect applications. Really kind of cast a wide net to put the word out there and get a good pool of candidates. They can go as in depth as doing an assessment center and making it much more detailed if you all would like. But I told them I thought it'd be best if a few of us got together and talked about those details and finalized everything between now and that September meeting.
And I guess they would use the League of Municipalities to post the job, or they would post the job in other sections or places?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they would. They'd send it out to other COGs to share to people in different regions, and they'd use the league and the manager's listserv and a lot of different avenues.
What are some of the lessons learned from council members that were previously a part of the town manager search that were challenges that the COG may be able to help us overcome?
Well, I was on the committee that, I think Mayor Ellis at the time was there, and Mary Ruth Dixon, who was a member of council. And the process went well, I thought. What we did was, but I do understand the necessity and of maybe calling in the council of government, but We advertised, we handled it all internally, isn't that right, Bill? And, we had some good candidates, and we picked one. And that proved to be a good choice.
Mhm.
There's another option here, we could, require him to stay.
Who wants to second that motion?
But I know that, you know, we can't stand in the way of good people moving up and moving on, and, so, I mean, the process that I was part of, like I say, it went well, we interviewed some good candidates, and, we picked one, and we had a good one.
Are we concerned that the candidate pool has changed since, the last 3 years of COVID and everything? Don't know.
I don't know, I don't have any idea.
Cause you came in right as COVID was picking up, right? It's been 3 years for you?
2.5, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of one thought I've had, is I think the COG would be a good resource in terms of trying to recruit, because it is gonna be a more challenging candidate pool, I think. But also, they can kind of help focus you all on, what to go after and what the requirements are, what the contracts look like, and what the next person should have in terms of credentials and things like that.
I don't think it would hurt to listen to what they have to say and see what they have to offer us. I mean,
Me either, not at all.
It's a
I
good
mean,
idea.
I worked on the search with your predecessor. I believe it was Mayor Ellis,
I was in there too.
Mayor Thomas, and myself. So I think they'll cast a wider net from what you've explained,
Yeah, they will.
and that may help.
Any other comments?
There's a second part to this discussion about the interim manager, and the recommendation is, bring an outside group or person in. Are we talking about using the COG for that as well? Is that the request? Are we at that decision point, or we want to listen to the COG first?
Yeah, I think both of these decisions can be made at the September meeting. If in between now and then, a group of y'all want to meet with the COG, we can set that up and go over what that looks like and what the needs would be.
Well, we utilized their executive director and before your predecessor came. The guy was very experienced, had been doing, in this business 30-plus years, but we only got him about 10 hours a week. So that was kind of limited.
And that's I think one positive for me, in the COGS category, is if they're able to help with interim, they're also gonna continue to help with planning and zoning, and they can help with our grant and project management under that. So, when I said that we're getting one person as kind of interim, we're really, getting a team of folks that, they can keep things moving forward. I don't want the staff to have to, pick up all of the extra work. Having them and having their team able to assist with all that, I think will be very beneficial.
So, you mentioned that maybe, some of the council and maybe the mayor meet with the COG. Is that what you suggested?
Yes, sir. Yeah, if there's two of you and if Mayor Thomas is able, then we can set something up for the three of y'all to meet with the COG and tell them more, and they can tell you more. And
I will be unreliable over the next couple of months, I imagine. Personal issues with my family's health and
Sure.
school starting back and all that combined, but I will certainly be there when I can.
And I certainly would be available, I'm older than these fellows, so, my schedule is a lot more flexible than
I'm in the
others.
same boat as the mayor, so be unpredictable. for me.
Patrick?
I would be available. I would be interested in serving.
Do you need a motion?
Sure, that'd be good.
Great, yeah, I make a motion that we, make a subcommittee of Patrick Litton, Tommy Green, and Daniel Thomas upon his availability to meet with the COG and to work out some details on the new manager and interim manager's responsibilities. Is that good enough?
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Mr. Edwards. Any other further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed likewise? Very good.
They've done solid work in the past, and I look forward to what they come up with.
All right, Mr. Longino?
Thank you, sir. I don't have too much to report, just a couple brief updates. I just wanted to mention that I've been working with the staff to make sure that we've got all of our projects that are going on lined up and that they're in a good spot for the upcoming transition. We are still waiting on proposals from firms for Wi-Fi downtown. So that funding was approved, and the idea is to add Wi-Fi in about maybe a half a block in each direction off downtown, and then Wi-Fi in the park as well. So have the money there, have one proposal back. I've heard from another firm, so I expect 2 of those, and that'll be good to keep that moving forward. Wanted to say for the public's benefit that we are very close to having some sort of Wi-Fi access down at the Greenway, the Broad River Greenway. Don't know that that'll be public access, but from an emergency first responders perspective, we're looking forward to having some sort of connectivity down there, because right now you have to go up the hill and sometimes a little ways up the road to get service. But we'll be looking forward to getting the RFP together for the courtyard. The RFP sent out for the Old Town Hall. We've got an RFP going out for the Safe Streets for All grant program, and got some other things that we're still chugging along and applying for. So I'll have some more updates for those in the coming months, but that's all I got.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Green?
Well, like I say, I've always said, Justin, I'm sorry to see him go. I think he served us well. But like I say, I don't wish him the best, and like I say, we would never want to stand in the way of somebody moving up and moving on. And unfortunately, I think that's the town our size. I think maybe that's just where we're going to be for a while. Hope that's not the case, but I'd like to add to that by saying I think one of the great things we have is we got a real good staff. Most of them were in place when you came, and we've added some good ones since then, and I have every confidence in them that they'll step up, and we'll keep plugging along. We'll be in good shape. So don't any of you get any ideas? But we do need you, and we have a lot of confidence in your ability. So oh, and one other thing, somebody mentioned this to me, and it didn't really register, but then I thought it might be a good idea. Somebody mentioned to me, we need some T-shirts or something, and they said the great T-shirt would be with the mural that's on the building. If we had, like at Music on Main or something, we could sell T-shirts, with our logo on them. And I thought, that might be a good idea, something like that. So, so more I thought about it, I thought, hey, and we've done that in the past at some of our festival thing. We've had T-shirts to sell, so might be something to consider to promote our town a little bit, but that's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Edwards?
Councilman Green said it so well. Justin, thank you for your time and dedication here, and really keeping us all in true north there. So wish you well on your next chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Gant?
Well, I hate to sound redundant, but that was exactly what I was going to say. You're going to be greatly missed, Justin. Appreciate everything that you've done. You're a valuable asset, and but we totally understand why you're leaving, and we wish the best to you. Good luck.
Thank you. Councilman Litton?
Thankful for Gardner Webb and the Y being here and representing. We appreciate you. I certainly appreciate the information that Barbara offered and your presentations. I know maybe you feel like we put you through the ringer sometimes, but I mean, you've came in and you've given us some really good information, and tonight was another positive. And I'm looking forward to see what the subcommittee and the Y can hammer out in this relationship. You know, and it's good to have partners in the community, and I appreciate that. And I am sad to see Justin go. I appreciate the work that he's done, the professionalism, and of course, the movement that he's brought a lot of forward movement into the town. And that's good, and of course, he can't be successful without the staff behind him as well, and we appreciate those folks as well. It's certainly not the time, but I would like to see us at some point, and we may have to wait till we get a new manager and we move forward, but look at the ordinance on abandoned, damaged, or burned buildings, especially in our core, and I've lost my terminology for what's the core section, what do we call that, the core section of town?
Downtown overlay or?
The overlay, that's it, especially in the overlay. And I'm not picking on anything that's already happened, I'm just saying, we need to be better prepared for something that happens in the future. And so we're ready to handle it. And that's all I got, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Thomas?
Are we still having a street sweeper do some of the curb and guttering uptown because I know Mr. Bill Elliott, former commissioner, he was really, that was one of his big things, is seeing that grass on that curb and guttering and have that cleaned up on a regular basis. And so I hope that we can sort of get that in a better shape. I don't know how we get that. I know our staff's sort of limited on some of those things, but I just think that really, my wife walks a lot, my daughter's been walking, they've been picking up nails and screws and everything else, but it's just, some of that grass and stuff just collects trash and everything else too, so. I wanted to commend Chief Phillips and Bowling Springs PD on the motor vehicle death case. I know that they worked really, really hard on that situation, brought that thing to a final, well, not quite to a final, but they brought criminal charges, and I appreciate greatly their hard work. And I know a lot of man hours, a lot of effort went into that. So thank you, guys and girls, and whoever else worked on it. But and then thank you again, Justin. I mean, you've done a wonderful job, and we hate to see you go, but your professionalism will carry you, and your thoroughness, and I'm just very thankful that I got to work with you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Justin will be here for the next meeting, so I'm going to still be upset at him for a month, and I'll say nice things about him. I'll say nice things about him at the next meeting.
I won't.
We need a motion to enter into closed session.
Second.
Councilman Thomas with the motion, Councilman Edwards with the second. So we're in closed session now at 7:41. Thank you all for coming. You're welcome to stick around if you want. We staying here again? Last time I went to the room and. Okay.
No one.
We have a bathroom break.
I was in there getting ready.
Can we have like a?
I gotta have a stretch.
Take a break. We can take a couple minutes.
Okay, sit there.
Bathroom break, everybody.
Good deal. Thanks, buddy.
Oh, I'm good.